Welcome to WLNM, the web novel and manga review, hosted by Zeke Changuris.
Welcome to WLNM, the web light novel and manga review. We are dedicated to bringing our listeners the very special artists, writers, creators, and industry professionals that are part of this amazing explosion of creativity. We welcome today the creative force behind more than now 50 books, Brandon Varnell. 54. Yeah. You just keep it's like well, I was going to say Daniel Steele, but without bodice ripping Harlequin romance on the cover, but I think there is some bodice ripping. I've seen the cover of American Kitsune, so
there is some sexy girls on my cover.
Yeah, I got some sexy girls on your covers. So you've one of your latest projects has been WIEDERGEBURT, Legend of a Reincarnated Warrior. Let's delve into that first, and then we'll move on to one of your other more recent works. Tell me, what is our setup here?
So the setup is that this is a. Do you know what Shensha is?
No, but
Wuxia is.
Wuxia? No.
Yes.
Please add words to my lexicon.
I will be more than happy to. Have you seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yes, I have.
That's Wuxia. It's basically Chinese martial heroes. So Shensha is a subgenre of the Wuxia genre. It's basically Chinese martial arts fantasy.
Okay.
So this is like a Chinese martial arts fantasy series with Norse mythology inspirations. So the main protagonist, Eric Viger, is at the end of his life, he fights against the man who killed his wife and daughter. He loses, but at the very last instant, he channels all of his power into a single attack, and it somehow throws him back into the past to when he was just 18 years old. And now 16 years old. And now he's decided he's going to redo his entire life over again and make sure that what happened in the past doesn't happen this time.
Or the future, his future past.
His future past, yes.
Yes.
I feel
like I've seen this conversation in Avengers.
There's probably been a conversation in Avengers. I would not be surprised at all. Avengers does that a lot. Yes. There's a lot of time travel stuff. I have not seen Loki, but I'm sure there's some weird time travel stuff going on in that one.
We can go on and on about that in a whole nother podcast. But so he's basically like reborn into himself, and he's trying to avoid the pitfalls that laid before him the first time.
That's exactly it. Well, so like right now, when the series first started, the series now has 9 volumes out. Sorry. I gotta check that now because I don't even remember how many volumes I've got. I've got the whole series already written, but I am basically publishing that. Yeah, I've got 8 volumes out, but so I am basically publishing them as I go through my edits, getting my self edits out with the beta reading, hiring my copy editor, hiring my artist, and I got like an assembly line process to publish this book once every 3 months.
Okay. So, which in itself is a Herculean task, just getting one out a year, as far as I'm concerned. And you seem to have found a way to streamline it, which is in itself a godly effort. So now, what kind of flavor, I guess, is this story? Is it in the more serious? I mean, you've written some really funny harem stuff. Where does it lie in the I guess the flavor or the emotional touch of it?
This is a much more serious novel than like American Kitsune, which was 100% satire parody with serious moments, but that was like Gintama, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
It was very funny, lots of parodying other anime, but it had its moments of like, oh my god, I cannot believe this just happened. Like the serious moments. This one is much more serious. It's still got its harem because that's what I just love to write, but it is definitely a more serious novel with a lot of drama, a lot of political intrigue, a lot of action, combat. There's some pretty gruesome scenes in there that I probably wouldn't recommend for children. Also, like, you've seen the covers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that explicit content warning label on the front cover. This is not a series for kids.
Which means I definitely, as a child, want to read it.
Oh no,
So
you definitely want to read it as a kid. Like
yeah.
I would have been into this series like I was getting into my dad's porn mags back when I was a kid.
So
And what teenage boy doesn't want to read his dad's Playboy
yeah,
magazines, right?
exactly. I still remember finding one when I was in elementary school. And now when I look back, I'm like, damn, that was the most tame magazine I have ever read in my entire life. Because it
It's
was
very,
like from
very
the
tame.
1960s. So yeah.
Yes. They were
Uh,
they were a lot tamer than magazines. I don't know if magazines are even how magazines are now. I've never even read one anymore. Everything I watch is online.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, online is where you're going to find, well, as we know, boys and girls, online, you have to find an adult. Don't search adult because that's a whole different thing, but don't surf by yourself, boys and girls. The well, this being a departure from your what you had started with, what kind of led you down this more serious road? Was it just you wanted to try something different?
I mean, I always like to try different genres within my themes. Like, even if everything I write is at its heart a harem series, I like to add different themes, different genres, different tropes into my stories, just so the series that I'm writing is different from all of my other series. So with this one, a couple of years ago, I really got into the wuxia slash Shensha genre, which I don't know if you've ever been to Wuxia World.
No.
It's like all right, no, that's cool. It's a website where people translate and edit Chinese Shensha Wuxia web novels into English.
Okay. I mean,
So
I go
and
there's one, it's not that, but there's Skywood, which does a lot of light novel trans transcriptions. And so I frequent them a lot. So yeah, I have an idea what you're referring to though.
right. So well, I don't know if Skywood is Skywood legal?
I probably not. I
Okay. Yeah,
think
this is
it's fan.
from
I,
got it. It's fan translated. So my understanding is that Wuxia World is 100% legal. So that's why I go on to
okay.
their websites. Um, but the first thing I ever read was it's called Battle Through the Heavens, and it was mind blowing in how different it is from both Western novels and Japanese light novels. So like I remember I probably read it's like 2,000 chapters long, I believe. Like I can look that up. Battle Through the Heavens. It was I think it was yeah, it was about 2,000 chapters long. Yep. It
Wow.
was a massive no, sorry, it was 1,648 chapters long.
That's
But
massive. Yes.
it was still it was a massive series. There were epic battles. There was a lot of political intrigue. There's some really weird sayings and tropes in these stories that just like they made absolutely no sense, but they kind of made it corny and fun to read.
Okay.
Of course you have like the powerful protagonist who fights really hard to, become stronger so that he can complete his goals. And I'll admit, I do like the really strong protagonist who women sort of fawn over because he's so handsome and he's so powerful and ooh, he like, just
Hey,
swoon.
well, thinking of Japanese, thinking of Chinese, Legend of the Immortal King, which came out this past year, was Chinese based story, and it was great. It really was great. Uh, uh, I sometimes am suspect when I see a Chinese originated anime or feature, and it was a
Oh,
very good story.
are you talking about the daily life of the Immortal King?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Daily
Yes,
Life,
I
the Immortal
watched that
King.
just recently. It's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was I I'm still a little iffy about that one. I think the animation was really good.
Yes.
Um, on the other hand, I felt like the romantic subplot was really, really
Plastered
could
on.
have been better.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, it felt like there wasn't a lot of development between Wang Ling and I don't even remember her name now.
Yeah, but I know
Um,
what you mean. It felt like it happened really fast, and she didn't need that much of a reason
to like him.
to like him. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. And like I said, for a genre that or genre or subgenre or whatever you want to call it, for I've been skeptical because I think sometimes the Chinese made productions are kind of hit and miss on whether they're uh good, whether they're enjoyable for me. And it was enough that I binge watched it, I think, in 2 days.
Yeah, the anime, to be fair, the Chinese anime, when I first watched them, they were really, really bad.
Yeah, I've seen some.
Like they
Yep.
were they were really horrible. This one is good. I think they've upped their production quality.
Yeah, the production quality is much better, and it as someone who reads a lot of subtitles, it's interesting because your ears are used to listening to Japanese,
Japanese.
and then you're listening to probably Mandarin, and you're like, huh, that really just sounds foreign to me, even though I still can't speak a lick of Japanese. Chinese sounded more
Right.
foreign.
It's definitely got a very different flavor as a language.
Yeah, there's a lot
But
of
so
well, let's get back to um let's get back to Reincarnated Warrior for a second. You said
right.
it has like a little harem subplot, so you know it be, is it are we have a stacked group of like adventurous adventure girls in this harem, or is it
Well, so what it is basically, so there's right now there are 3 women who are literally they're gonna be married. They're engaged to him right now.
okay?
Is so the first one is Kari Australia. She is in his past life, Kari Australia was Eric's wife. Like, I mean,
Okay.
they never officially married, but in the past there was a demon beast invasion of Navaria where they live. Like it destroyed everything. They were some of the only survivors. And so they basically went through their previous life together, like growing attached to each other, depending on each other for survival and emotional support. And eventually they just like they had a kid, they got married, they started their own sect together. They were basically like the power couple.
Okay.
And so, after he goes back in time, basically everything he does is for her. He wants to save Navaria from the demon beast invasion so that her parents don't die. He wants to protect everybody so that she can have the life that she was deprived of in his past life. The other 2 girls, the second girl is Faye Volstein, who is actually Kari's childhood friend. They are sort of estranged right now, Kari and Faye, because of something that happened in their past.
Okay.
While Kari is basically like a caged bird, her mother is the Empress of Navaria, so she's basically the princess of the kingdom that they live
Okay.
in. Faye is a minor noble who is basically struggling to break free from her own prison. Um, one of the smaller antagonists of the first arc is attempting to get Kari and Faye to marry him. Kari as his first wife, Faye as his second. Neither of them wants to marry them, but Faye is the one who is struggling to not marry him on her own. And so her goal is to enter a tournament that happens every year, win the tournament, and then have the Empress grant her wish of not allowing the engagement between her and Grant Lucht, who is the minor antagonist for the first arc of the series.
Okay. Hey, it's sounds like you've really fleshed them out, which is good because we've all read the stories where they just kind of add women.
More girls,
Yeah.
and there's no end to them, and they don't have any personality.
Yep.
They're like a cardboard box.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
it,
no.
yeah, as a connoisseur, I see that you've tried to elevate their game, so that's excellent.
I always work very hard to develop my characters. I think it's very important to have characters that have a strong motivation, a unique personality. They have their own goals that are irrespective of any relationships they have, because no one in real life lives solely for someone else. They all want to do something else with their life. Some people, maybe they just want to get a good job. Maybe they just want to have fun. Maybe they want to become an artist. Maybe they want to be a writer. Maybe they want to be like a police officer. Everyone has something that they want that doesn't have anything to do with love.
So,
and I think having women like that is important especially for a harem, because a harem is basically one guy in a romantic relationship with multiple women. So you need to make sure these women are strong, independent, very, very unique. You want them to stand out from all of the other characters of any series, not just your own, so that, when people go back or read another series, they still remember your characters because they're not some cardboard cutout of, standard anime archetypes.
that's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk about the character archetypes and how they've been misused and sometimes used very well for a while. But it's something else I wanted that you incorporated in here. Was there, what was it that brought Norse mythology or Norse settings into your Chinese action fairy tale story concept? That's an interesting marriage.
It is definitely an interesting mix. I just wanted to be different. Most Chinese stories have primarily Chinese mythology attached to their stories. Japan, on the other hand, sort of goes all over the place.
Yes.
Like Japan will have German. They'll have have you seen High School DxD, right?
Yeah. They like to borrow.
Like literally, they
borrow
borrow everything. Like they've got the Christian mythology, they've got Norse mythology, they've got in the last season 4, they introduced the Hindu gods, Hades from Greeks.
Yeah.
Like they're all over the place. And I figured, if I was going to tell a story that was like more Shensha Wuxia novel, I would try and make something a little more Western, just so it's more easily consumable to like the average Westerner. Like, I'm assuming most of us just don't know a whole lot about like Chinese culture, Chinese history. So adding,
you made it more accessible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tried to give it a broader appeal, I guess is what you could say.
Hey, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and everyone knows Norse thanks to Marvel.
Thanks to Marvel, yes, we all know our Norse mythology at this point. Hey, and thanks to Marvel, we know that there is a first Korean Church of Asgard somewhere in the Bronx. Because
I had no idea that existed.
In Doctor Strange, in the background, near no, it's in the village, near Doctor Strange's place in the village. Across the street, there is a sign that says first Korean Church of Asgard. It's written in Korean though, so you have to.
Okay.
I only found that out because YouTubers,
okay.
Yeah.
I
like to pick things apart, but yeah, they go all out, don't they? So,
yep.
Hey, you thinking of gods? You have a man-made god that you are writing about currently, and what makes him a god among men? Is it the ability to have a harem of 20 women and satisfy them all? Because that would be godly.
So in this, that's actually not. He's not the main character is not a god. Like I call it that because of the main plot, which I'm not revealing
Okay,
because
that's
it's
fine.
not going to happen until much later. The idea of man-made god is this is a post World War III series.
Okay,
Basically, World War III happened. It was a nuclear war, killed billions of people.
that
Immediately
sucks.
after the war, a plague, like a disease that was created from the massive amounts of nuclear radiation, killed another half of the populace. The
Okay,
governments were like, oh shit, we just killed like so many people. War is bad. So
yes.
they got together and they created an armistice, like all the nations. And they basically said that henceforth, there shall be no war. If you
Okay,
have a conflict, whether it's as an individual or on a national scale or on an international scale, you can only solve it in the virtual world.
all right.
So ever since that moment, virtual reality has been like the biggest, most popular thing ever. Games are now all VR. Like the latest VR MMOs are the biggest hits. They make the most money. You know, Hollywood's been kicked to the curb. No one watches movies anymore. Like a few people do, but basically video games are now where everything is, like where everyone solves their conflicts, where everyone can make money. Like there are a lot of people now who literally they just go on to VR MMO video games. They basically, you know, farm cash. They kill monsters, they get cash from there, and they can convert it into their nation's currency and basically live off that. So this is like a kind of a cyberpunk world where everything is solved through video games.
All
And
right.
in this world, there is a woman named Fate who is just like Faye, being forced into an arranged marriage,
All right.
but she doesn't want to be. She's tried, you know, she tried to convince her father to annul the marriage, but her father grew so upset when she refused the engagement that he has basically disowned her. The man that she is being forced to marry offers her a way out, which is basically she has to do an impossible task within the newest, latest VR MMO called Age of Gods, which is basically like she has to build up her reputation. She has to earn more money than what her family makes in a year. And she has to become like her guild. She has to create a guild that becomes like one of the top 10 guilds of the entire nation.
Okay.
And if she can
do you use
do
a
a what?
lot? Do you use a lot of gaming? Uh,
Stats?
gaming. Yeah, gaming stats. I guess when in it.
This is a pretty crunchy game, a pretty
Okay.
crunchy series. So there are a lot of stats, a lot
Okay.
of, you know, leveling up. It's definitely very MMO game lit, RPG
Okay.
lit ish. So this was my first attempt at doing that. But that's basically, you know, the main plot through this. Fate meets Adam, who she actually recognizes as a player who, in the past, managed to basically defeat all the greatest gamers of the entire world, to earn like however millions of dollars he earned. And then he just vanished. But
Okay.
she recognizes him because of the way he walks. She's very observant, so she's basically watched his videos millions of times. So she's like, "Oh my god, I know who this guy is." And she learns that Adam has a lover who has the disease, the fatal disease that kills everyone. It's got a 100% fatality rate if they get it. And she comes to him and she says, "I will get you a deal. If you do this for me and help me, I will cure your lover." And she has um, a prototype cure for this disease, which it hasn't been used. It was, you know, in the backstory for the cure is that her grandfather hired someone, a scientist, to make this for his wife, but then his wife died before it was
Okay.
built, and after it was built, he just sort of stored it away for all time, and she stumbled upon it. So it was very, very nice plot twist coincidence / plot armor.
Yes. Hey, we all need that sometimes.
We do.
There's
But
yeah.
so basically that's how this story starts. Is she finds Adam, she offers him this deal in exchange for helping her get out of this marriage and winning her bet, she will cure his lover.
So like
And
you said,
so
go ahead.
no, you can go.
No, like you said, it is a very gamer MMO focused story, and that, you know, if for me, I have been not a gamer, I have found at times delving into MMO stories like that to be a little confusing, because are you using like the shorthand, or are you trying to explain it a little bit for noobs?
I write my stories as if you've never read something like this before.
Okay, that's great.
So I do my best to explain everything. Like there are some things that I feel, are probably common even if you don't play video games. I'm sure even if you don't play video games, you know what it means to level up, right?
Yes.
Like if
Yes.
I were to say HP,
Hit points.
you'd probably know that's hit points, health points. MP is like your mana / your magic points. Like some things are very common,
Especially if you're going to
in
get into, especially if you're like, oh, I'm in the light novels, you will have heard those terms before, because
yes.
you know.
Yes, so there are some things that I feel don't need explaining, but like certain stats, certain some of the armor offers like buffs, like maybe it'll offer you like a plus 100 for your HP, which means that you get 100 more HP if you equip this piece of armor.
Okay.
Like I sort of explain how all that works. Also, even if there are similar magic / game systems that you have read from light novels or other novels, mine is still different from all of theirs in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like there is a certain level of explaining that you need to do,
Okay.
just so they understand how your system works. So they go, oh, I get this. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's very helpful. Because even for me reading Shield Hero, I get at the point I just cock my head sometimes, because they like to write a lot of, well, we're trying to get the stats for this to debuff that, and I get lost, and that just shows my age because I had an Atari. So when 8-bit graphics, maybe 16-bit at the time, were your number one place for gaming, you kind of get confused quickly when it comes to
Well, and to be fair, the Shield Hero it's not very good at explaining its own system.
okay. All right, so I'm not just old and lost.
No, I mean, if you don't know video games that well, I'm sure you will be more lost than someone who does. But at the same time, like I feel like the Shield Hero magic system was just sort of put in place to give it a video game flavor, even though it feels nothing like a game. And
Okay.
I feel like a lot of the stats that Naofumi has honestly feel useless most of the time.
Yes.
Like he's got all these different skills, all these different upgrades. I've never seen him use any of them. Like he's got a very, despite the fact that he probably has like 1,000 shield variations by this point, he's only used like 10.
Oh yeah, and right now it's all like the mirror shield.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he doesn't even really use them. His, like, I don't even know if they have. I can't even remember if they had. Do they have HP in that series?
No, I don't think there's
No.
HP.
Yeah. So I think it's just the upgrades for the weapons.
Yeah, it's all about weapons and level ups. Yeah, because you can level up in that, and there are classes so that limit what you can level, things like that.
But even then, like the level ups don't feel like they really offer anything in particular. Like technically speaking, I suppose you're stronger, but at the same time, when I read it,
I'm not
it
getting a
doesn't really
sense of
feel
that
that
strength.
way.
Yeah.
Like especially with Naofumi and the others, because there's always something where they're like cursed. And
Yes.
like I think each new arc, Naofumi gets cursed, and suddenly he's weaker than he was before. And I'm like, oh my god.
Or he was somewhere when they travel to a different world, his stats are reset. Yeah. Yeah, that did get a bit frustrating. I really wish they had streamlined the story a tad, but we'll see. We'll see how they eventually try and sum everything up.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
I'm not reading that book anymore. I actually quit I couldn't do the Shield Hero anymore.
it's a lot. It's a thick one too. They're thick novels compared to a lot of other ones. So you know, your noveling pace is pretty big. We've talked about this before. How do you keep track of the various projects? Because you've got to be working concurrently on different ones, right?
Sort of. So so I'm gonna be honest. When I first began, I wrote 7 days a week for 10 to 12 hours every single day. Every single day. I was probably pushing like anywhere from 12,000 to like 22,000 words a day.
I
So
remember
I
some of your
finished.
Twitter posts about that and just being like,
Yes.
that's insane. But yes.
So I finished writing a lot of novels. Like WIEDERGEBURT, Legend of the Reincarnated Warrior, I've only published 8 volumes, but I've already written all 7 acts, which will probably be close to like 25 or 26 volumes in total. Like the
So
rough draft is finished.
so you're able to free up mental space by like they're in different phases, I guess. Different phases of
And
publication.
yes, more or less. So I've got a lot of the stuff that I'm posting right now is stuff that I've honestly already written. And I'm just getting like right now, I'm posting Man-Made God Volume 4 on Patreon. Because they're sort of, my patrons are sort of like my beta readers. They say, hey Brandon, I really like this part, or hey Brandon, this part doesn't make any sense, fix it. And so after that, I do my edits based on their suggestions. Then I go through self edits. Then I hire a copy editor. Then I hire a proofreader, and I hire my artist to do the artwork for it. And then I publish it. But a lot of these, because I'm already so far ahead of them, I'm really just catching up on everything.
Okay. That seems more realistic than in my head, where you're, writing 3 separate stories at the exact same time and moving like a schizophrenic between personalities. So that makes a lot more
Yes, no,
sense to
it's
me.
this is the only reason I can do it this way, which I think after I'm finished with all of my current series, I'm planning to slow down because it was really, really difficult to write like this. And as I get older, it becomes harder to maintain that level, that pace. So what I'm planning to do now is, once I've finished all my current series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write for just 2 series at a time. My publishing schedule will obviously slow down to accommodate for this. But what I want to do is I want to post these on Patreon first, and then get them published as I finish them and as my artists go through them and my editors and everyone else finishes everything. But so for now, like I'm hoping that eventually, once I get all my stuff out, I'll be able to not take it easy, because I still I still write most days except for Saturdays and Sundays now. But I want to be able to not feel the stress and anxiety that comes from pushing myself to write 12 to 20,000 words in a single day.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, you've got mad respect from me for being a writer who could do that. I think the most I ever pushed out in a day was maybe 1,500 words at a time, and that the amount that you were able to put out in the short time that you did is amazing. And what you need, if you need to slow down, that's great. Slow down. And you can even try something more experimental, something a little outside your comfort zone because you have the time to think about it. I think that's an admirable way of looking at things.
Well, and I still have to do, like, I have to give updates. For Patreon, I do my main story, which is right now it's WIEDERGEBURT. I update a chapter every Monday and every Thursday. And then on Tuesday and Friday, I post a chapter of my secondary novel, which right now it's Man-Made God. I think after Man-Made God, I'm going to begin posting Incubus Volume 4. But so I still have to do like consistent updates. I think when I first started, I was so afraid that I wouldn't be able to maintain this consistency that I just wrote so far ahead that now I've got like 30 books worth of content that I haven't published because I basically let my fear overtake me and convince me that I needed to write a massive amount of words every single day so that I'd have content to give to my patrons. So now I'm beginning to realize that I probably didn't need to do all that.
So when we hear that there's a word shortage in the world, we know that you're the one who's hogged all the words.
Basically.
Yeah. Well, that's great though. What you put these up on your Patreon. We can follow you on Twitter
Yes.
at Brandon Varnell. And are you on any other sites? I can't remember.
I'm on Facebook as well, which
All
is it's facebook.com/American Kitsune.
All righty.
And then I'm also on Instagram.
Okay.
Which I think I'm just Brandon B. Varnell on Instagram too.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Brandon
that's
B.
typically
Varnell.
how it works. Yep. So I want to.
And then I'm also on TikTok.
Oh, on TikTok now.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, all the kids are into the TikTok. I just haven't got there. My wife is using TikTok, but I'm just
TikTok's hilarious.
I
can spend hours just scrolling through like some of the stupidest videos I've ever seen in my life. So funny. Oh my god. Do you know the Asian dad guy?
No, I don't.
Oh my god. It's this dude he's like an Asian dad, I guess, and is basically like the most stereotypical Asian dad on like of all time. Like it's there's this one skit where his son gets like a B in math. He's like, oh my god, you stupid, how could you get B? Oh my god. And he's just like flipping out. I'm like, oh my god, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. But it's actually kind of true because that's how Asian parents are when their kids get like a B.
Yeah.
Which, for us in America, that's like a great thing. A B, it's like, you're above average.
Yes.
In Asia, no, you're stupid. How could you do this? I'm like, oh dear, this guy. But he's hilarious. I think he's probably also on like YouTube as well.
Okay.
But I see him mostly on TikTok.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I love talking to you. I know it's been like more than a year since the last time we talked like this. You have put out some amazing work and you're so thoughtful in what you do. And as far as authors go, I really respect that. And let's see, if you want to listen to more folks like Brandon, I hope you take the time to subscribe to WLNM, where we hope to continue to highlight the best the independent creators have to offer. Until next time, keep reading.
This has been a WLNM podcast.